Greetings and welcome to the third episode of the Lethal Space Program. In the last episode, we aimed for the edge of space. In this episode, we'll be doing it again. Now you may notice I'm operating in version 0.23 here, even though version 0.24 just came out. And that is why I'm operating in version 0.23 here. First things first, we're going to pick up some red shirts so that we don't lose our original 3 founding Kerbals here. And yes, that was a Star Trek reference. As you can see, we have nobody assigned or lost yet, which is good. Now, I'm running version 0.23 here because, as I said, version 0.24 just came out today as I'm recording this. So, even if I wanted to, this episode couldn't be in 0.24. And I think I'm going to be giving version 0.24 a little bit of a time. Big releases like it often come with major bugs that I do not appreciate. Since the game is still in beta, I know the developers are working on that really quickly, and within a week or two they'll definitely have many of them sorted out. So that won't be a problem. Another issue that I'm concerned about is mod compatibility. Since I'm running about 20-something mods here, I'd like to give the modders a little bit of time to catch up to the new version, although I already hear that several of them have. So these first 2 missions really quick, I'm going to just be picking up science at the Space Center again, because the last thing we did in the previous episode was picking up the thermometer. So with a bad case of diminishing returns, I'm going to be getting a little bit of science here. A very, very little bit. The next mission after this will definitely be taking off. As you can see, I only picked up about 4.4 and 3 science from those 2 missions combined. Or, yes, respectively, rather. So on our first super dangerous space attempt, we're going to be sending Merbles Kerman, the least courageous and one of the brightest Kerman I've ever seen in this game. And away we go. That was a little loud in my headphones. And Merbles is insanely scared. This is great. That's what I wanted from you, Merbles. That's why you're on this mission. And as we climb to space, I think I'm going to continue the tradition I began in the second episode, which is space news. Before I get to that though, you may have noticed a sound change there in the engines. I'm running the majority of this video at 4 times speed, and I'm dropping out of 4 times speed back down to the speed I play the game at. Goodbye boosters. I'm doing that in order to allow you, the viewer, to read the science reports now that I'm broadcasting in beautiful 720p high definition. Now the science reports and basically everything on the screen should be legible, as it previously was not. I'm recording with new audio software, audio editing software rather, so the audio should be slightly improved as well. All around, I think we're getting pretty professional here. And I'm actually kidding. It's still super amateur hour, or amateur half hour. I'm a little bit not experienced with this recording stuff yet, but if you bear with me, I'll be making great strides as I have for this episode. Who knows, if I can upgrade my machine soon, I'll probably be upping the resolution at which I broadcast these even higher than what this is now. And there goes slowing down the video again and speeding it back up. Beginning the gravity turn. Oh, as I was saying before, get back to space news. Um, the NASA probe titled New Horizons is 1 year away from Pluto today, or yesterday, I believe, actually. It is going to be Earth's first probe going out that far to go check out the dwarf planet that we've known about for decades now. All we have is terribly grainy and low-resolution images, much like my earlier videos, of the dwarf planet. And yes, it is a dwarf planet. If we titled everything in its size category as a planet, then we would have planets orbiting Jupiter and Saturn. And we would have over a dozen full-fledged planets in our system. And that gets pretty unruly after a while, having planets orbiting planets and an entire laundry list of them doing so. Anyhow, so the New Horizons mission should be arriving next year in July 2015 at the dwarf planet and taking our first high-resolution images of it. It should be doing some other experiments, trying to figure out what it's made out of and in what proportions, things like that. We still don't know a whole lot about it because it's so far away from us. We haven't been able to take terribly good images or get very good readings on anything that far out. So I'm pretty excited to find out what's out there. Hopefully I'll still be making videos much like this, although better at that time. And as you can see, this mission has crossed into space. We are getting good science now. So continuing on with the mission, Merbles goes on EVA to begin collecting as many low-orbit EVA reports as possible. He's going to be going on quite a few missions out of the ship at this point. And he goes out to go collect some data, because as we saw in the last mission, sometimes pods break off when you land. And also I'm going to be entering the atmosphere at a much higher speed than I have in previous missions because I'm coming in from a much higher altitude. So parts of the ship exploding are a real possibility at this point. And we continue towards our maneuver node to achieve a full orbit if possible. Go, Merbles, go. We need an orbit. Oh, I should have sent up a different pilot. This Kerman is freaking out. And there is a smile from him for once. During one of the most dangerous parts of the mission. As you can tell, there was no asparagus staging there. I still don't have fuel lines yet. And at this point in the mission, I'm starting to get a little concerned that I have enough fuel to achieve orbit, but maybe not enough to return to the planet. Although I sent Merbles with a little bit of extra oxygen, he may not have enough water and food to survive long enough to wait for a rescue craft. So already on our first mission, I'm a little concerned about the survivability, which is why I sent our most cowardly Kerman. And that is a full orbit achieved. Good job, Merbles. Now let's hope that 10 fuel you have left is enough to get you home. Ten little measly units of fuel. Oh well. While you're up here, some science done. Longtime KSP players will know why I'm angling the ship in a north-facing direction. Just makes EVAs a little easier getting in and out of the ship, since Kerman tend to orient themselves with their heads pointing north. And I know that can be changed. You can change the direction your Kerman go on. Yeah, your Kerbals go on EVA, but just to make things easier on myself, I do it this way. Going out there to collect some data. Good job. Although my piloting skills with the backpack need a little improvement, as I smack into the pod a couple of times. I blame Merbles. He's intelligent, but not courageous. Alright, data collected. And I don't know why I popped them back out there, but I did. Now, one thing you might notice here is I have no lights on the vehicle. I haven't earned them in the science tree yet, the tech tree. So as I pass into the dark side of the planet, this will get very difficult to see. Well, at least for you, the viewer. While I was playing, it's actually quite easy to see. I don't know why the recordings come out so much darker. Maybe I can fix that in post. On the next episode. I've already done quite a bit of post editing on this one with all the speeding up and slowing down. So yes, I will try and remain more conscious of the science reports on screen in future episodes. So that I don't have to speed and slow the video down for the viewers. And we should be passing into darkness here anytime. And there you go. Merbles turns on his headlamp, but it doesn't do much, given that he's just holding on to the ladder. So while Merbles is passing into darkness, maybe I'll talk about myself for a little while. Let's see, where do I begin? Let's start with let's start with my age. I'm a 35-year-old male. Well, clearly I'm male. I was a computer science major in college and had a lifelong, or still have, a lifelong interest in science and technology. I built my first computer at about 4 years old with help from an uncle of mine. And ever since, I've had an interest in the sciences, so I went to college for computer science. I've learned several programming languages, everything from QBasic and Fortran to C++ and HTML, although I don't really use them much anymore. I do still build systems from time to time, although I don't currently live in the US, so I don't really have a lot of access to the kinds of convenient technology stores that are available there. So I'm and I have been living here for several years, so I'm using a rather old system. I've got about a 6-year-old laptop that I'm running this on, which is why the resolution isn't too terribly great, and I've been having issues with things like the Reentry graphics and whatnot. Let's see. What else? As you can see, I'm setting a maneuver node there to not land on the planet, but only enter the upper atmosphere. That's for the deadly re-entry purposes. I would like the upper atmosphere to slow me down with aero braking as much as possible before I go screaming into the lower atmosphere and catch on fire. Let's see. One other interesting thing that you might want to know is that I once worked at a machine shop that was responsible for producing high tolerance surgical, dental, and aerospace parts. Some of the things I've worked on have been things like dental implants and heart valves. I've also laid hands on a very interesting piece of technology that you might be interested in. I worked on parts that went on the not Curiosity, but the Spirit and Opportunity rovers that landed on Mars a few years back. It's pretty humbling and inspiring to know that objects I have laid my hands on are now on other worlds, or at least one other world, although I have worked on parts that are in other probes that are orbiting other worlds. I let's see. So that's space related. I also have an interest in other sciences, including anthropology, archaeology, physics, things like that. I spent about 3.5 years volunteering for an archaeology project before. With that same group, I actually took a paying job for a summer out in Arizona, which was pretty nice. But anything else you might like to know, go ahead and ask about things any kind of question, personal, knowledge related, whatnot. I'm relatively an open book. Plus, any kind of questions will give me things to talk about in these long episodes. As you can see, or as you can hear, I'm stumbling over what I should talk about. Oh, and if anybody's wondering what the AED in my channel name stands for the moment, assume it stands for Another Electronic Distraction. A little bit of circus. Where's my bread? And as you can see, we're entering the atmosphere here at quite a high speed, 2.4 kilometers per second, and increasing. And this is me trying to see when I cross the border over into the desert so I can get that biome, or at least get the EVA report from flying over that biome. I'm pretty impressed with the amount of EVA biome reports I got on this mission. It actually surpasses even my vanilla game. I've never had a single mission orbiting Kerbin get this many EVA biome reports from low Kerbin orbit. So zoom back into the ship. EVA. Swap out the reports. Boom, boom. One last EVA. EVA report from space just above the desert. And that makes it official. I have gotten every single biome on Kerbin except Badlands, Tundra, and Ice Caps with this single mission. I'm impressed myself. Now I really hope the capsule survives Reentry. And here we go, under 50K, starting to enter the soup. Nice moonrise there. And yes, I know the moon in this game is spelled M-U-N. I still pronounce it with a long U, moon, although I know many people pronounce it mun. I think that's pretty silly. I'm pretty sure it was named M-U-N on purpose, so that it would be a long U. And goodbye, booster, you've been helpful. Don't need you anymore though, since I have 0 and 0 fuel left. Or had. Temperature starting to rise. And as I mentioned earlier, my reentry graphics is turned down to minimum because of the system I'm working with here. So you won't really be seeing the giant fireball that you see on other people's videos. At best, the parts on the ship will just glow, which in reality is how it goes, for the most part. Ablative shields do offer kind of a fireball effect, but polished metals and things like that generally don't unless the temperature rises to a point where the metal starts vaporizing. Having been a machinist, I know a little bit about metal. So we see the temperature beginning to rise, up to 400 and something so far. One issue I've noticed with this design I have, it's very similar to the very first design I tried in Sandbox with Deadly Reentry. The landing legs heat up even faster than the heat shield does, and I'm not sure why. It might be that I have them set too low. They stick out below the heat shield, and there goes the camera shift, signifying I'm going to hit the planet now. But yeah, I'm thinking the issue might be that they stick out slightly beyond the heat shield, and so they're absorbing more of the heat than the shield is. If you have any ideas on how to fix that, I would appreciate them in the comments. It is pretty bad, because the first ship that I tested entering the atmosphere with Deadly Reentry, all the landing legs blew off, and 3 out of the 4 parachutes it had were destroyed. It was pretty concerning. And as you can see, the temperature's fluctuating on those batteries, but continuing to rise everywhere else. Yeah, starting to get concerned about that engine I left behind. Temperature's really going up. The last time I flew a design into the atmosphere like this one, 618, when the landing legs were destroyed, I'm pretty sure the temperature was at about 1,000 degrees. I haven't checked the actual temperature tolerance on these in the build screen. I probably should at this point, because this is a continuing problem. 665 degrees. Starting to get concerning there. And it looks like I'm going to land in the ocean. I was hoping to land back near KSC, but that's not going to happen. 725 degrees. And I'm just rotating here because it gets boring dropping into the atmosphere for 5 minutes. Merbles doesn't seem to be too terribly concerned, even though he's turning barbecue here. Rotisserie style. 800 degrees. This is not good. 810. See, the legs are heating up almost double the temperature of the heat shield. That shouldn't be happening. 840. That's scary. Meanwhile, the pod Merbles is in is only is a comfortable 18 degrees. $860 and dropping. It appears that the landing legs have survived, thankfully, although it doesn't really matter because I'm aiming for the ocean anyhow. Or not aiming for, but going to hit the ocean. Re-entering the atmosphere from in the way that is done with or that I've been doing with Deadly Reentry here makes it kind of difficult to select your landing location. Merbles, why are you panicking? We've gotten through the dangerous part. See? You have parachutes. Calm down. Coward. Although, I suppose that is why my stated purpose in bringing him along was his cowardice. I think in the future I'll probably just use him on missions where I stick him in a science bay or something and never see his face again. And there goes my engine, passing less than a kilometer from me. That's concerning. In my vanilla game, the closest I've ever come to a piece of debris in space was about 5 kilometers. I have my persistent debris turned up to about 150 parts, so it's not a major concern. I try to be a good space citizen and not leave trash in orbit, as I did in this mission. I didn't leave any trash in orbit. But I will have failures in the future, you can guarantee that. Or I can guarantee that, rather. And parachutes open. You are safely returning to the water. I'm coming for you, Moon. Yes, clap, Merbles. You have made it home, safe and sound. And splashdown. And my Kerbals enjoy breakdancing when they waterland. Water dancing. Reference. And once again, standing on top of your vehicle counts as standing in the biome for purposes of surface samples and EVA reports. So I use this once again. Alright, get back in, Merbles. This mission is accomplished. You have done your duty. Alright, 156.9 science. This is actually higher than any science total I've ever gotten, even in my vanilla game. Although in my vanilla game I have a crew on return from Minmus right now that should be having about 5 times that. So let's pick up some new science. No, get the solar panels, you fool. We spoke about this in the last episode. Solar panels. Yes, those. And lights. We need those when we pass into the darkness. Our audience needs to be able to see our ship. Yes, solar panels. And I also need that Stay Putnik for satellites. Communication satellites are vitally important. So now I have the option between more rockets and bigger fuel tanks, or some construction technology. And I do believe I'm going for the construction technology, since it's a category full of parts. That's it for this episode. In the next one, we'll be aiming for the moon. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.